Well, the big story that we continue to track, there is turbulence in Indian skies again as another airline is strapped for cash. Go First has decided to file for bankruptcy. The airline has voluntarily decided to move the National Company Law Tribunal under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. It has suspended its operations and has cancelled its flights scheduled for May 3 and 4. The Bardia Group-owned company is blaming Pratt and Whitney engine failures, which have resulted in the grounding of its 25 aircraft. This is equivalent to 50% of its fleet as of the 1st of May. Now, following the sudden flight cancellations, aviation regulator, the DGCA, has issued a show-cause notice to the airline, failing to follow the approved schedule, which will lead to passenger inconvenience. Well, to discuss the flight path and the road ahead, we're now joined by the CEO of Go First, Kaushik Khona. Kaushik, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. My very first question to you, Kaushik, and this, I would imagine, is top of mind for all stakeholders, your lenders, your customers, your employees. What happens at this point in time? You have moved the NCLT, you filed your application overnight. We don't know when the NCLT will take up the matter. In the interim, what happens to operations?
Well, thanks, first of all, Shereen, for this time. I have a slight suggestion because while your headline says it's filed for bankruptcy, I would like to slightly modify. We are not filing for bankruptcy. We are filing for a resolution process whereby by making an application under Section 10, we are trying to move to the NCLT to find out if we can protect our assets and to see how we can again resume the operations under the provisions of the IBC Act. Unfortunately, IBC itself has a name which is called Insolvency and Bankruptcy, but the purpose of this whole application is for resolution. So thanks for pointing out that this is an application. Well, we are obviously we have filed for the application considering the emergency part. We hope that it would be taken up soon. But I think what is more relevant is we are here only because of the failure of Pratt and Whitney from providing the engines which it was obliged, it is still obliged to provide as per the contract, and continuously when it did not provide the engines for the last 3 years in spite of continuous requests, representation, etc., we had to go to the process of arbitration, emergency arbitration. Fortunately, the emergency arbitration award was completely in our favor, guiding and advising Pratt and Whitney to provide at least 10 engines by 28th of April, and then 10 engines every month till December. Not only that, they also mentioned that Pratt and Whitney should immediately induct 20 engines which are lying in their MRO since last few months. And they also directed that Pratt and Whitney should pick up 44 failed engines which are lying with us in India at different airports since more than 270 days, so one of the oldest one. And on top of it, it has been mentioned that no security should be required by a company, in spite of the fact that Pratt and Whitney said that even if it is supposed to do that, they would like to have a security. So which I think the arbitrator, after due consideration of the facts, they've also ruled that there is no requirement of security, nor should be requirement of making any payments right now. So I think that's the sum and substance of what we had to undergo. And unfortunately, when by 28th of April, we didn't get the engines, and we saw that Pratt and Whitney is trying to defy every order and every award. In the last 1 month, we had approached Pratt and Whitney for the reconfirmation. There was a clarification required. That also was in our favor. And in spite of that, when the Pratt and Whitney did not do that, that is a situation which has compelled us, and that's why we are before the NCLT.
You know, Kaushik, you're right in pointing out that you've moved the NCLT under Section 10. You're saying that you're hopeful of finding a resolution. I want to arrive at that in a second, but just on the issue of Pratt and Whitney, because as you yourself pointed out, this is a matter that's been ongoing for the last 3 years. You have, of course, got an award in your favor through the Singapore arbitration proceedings. You've now moved a court in Delaware against Pratt and Whitney. This matter is now sub judice. But my point to you is many other airlines Airlines, many other aviation companies in this country and globally have been faced with issues when it comes to capacity and fleet. Many have chosen to actually exercise the leasing option. I'm going back to your DRHP filing, where you said, Kaushik, in the DRHP filing that if we have to lease or purchase aircraft from another supplier, we would lose the significant benefits we derive from our current single fleet composition. In hindsight, did you make a mistake by not attempting to look for fleet outside of Pratt and Whitney? Did you exercise the option of looking at the lease possibility?
Well, in hindsight, we obviously have a vision which we never had at that time, because we were guided by Pratt and Whitney's presentations and representations, which not only talked about fuel saving, and they had represented their fuel saving by the engines under the GTF engines would give us more than 17% of fuel saving, while we had evaluated at that time the CFM had provided little less. That was one operational issue. Second is Pratt and Whitney promised that they will fund for the pre-delivery payment, and that they would also continue to provide that assistance. So I think on a overall basis, Pratt and Whitney themselves made a representation that they are better product, and going by their representations, that's where we had chosen Pratt and Whitney, and we were one of the launch customers for Pratt and Whitney, including the other airlines in the initial stages. So I think at one point of time, if you are aware, by 2020, India constituted almost 45% of the Pratt and Whitney order position and deliveries. So I think they had a huge exposure to India, and that's where we were quite hopeful that Pratt and Whitney.
No, but Kaushik, you know, here's my simple point to you, and I understand that you were hopeful that Pratt and Whitney would deliver on its promise, but hope is not a strategy, as you would very well imagine. Again, I go back to your DRHP filing, Kaushik. It is littered with risks related to Pratt and Whitney engines. If you're now talking about the viability being in question of the airline, did you not consider the leasing option at all? And I also want to get a clarification from you. What are you claiming from Pratt and Whitney? Because in your DRHP, you said that you had raised claims of $67 million. That was till March 2020 and partially also accounted for the November to December 2019 period. How much are you claiming? How much has Pratt and Whitney paid you so far?
Okay, a very good question. And one is obviously DRHP was dated May 2021. A lot of things have happened thereafter, but I would like to update two things. One is that we did receive the compensation from Pratt and Whitney out of the amount which was mentioned in DRHP of around $49 million. And the balance which was post March 2020, we have still not received the compensation. We continue to raise this issue with them. In fact, we also made claims in the intermediate period in July 2022, as well as when we filed for the arbitration. And the claims are in the range of almost $950 million based on the AOG compensation, which has been evaluated by one of the very well-known firms. Even if we go with the rate at which Pratt and Whitney would have provided the compensation, as in the past, the amount of the compensation would have been in the range of around $450 million till March 2023. So I think there is a lot at stake. And if you really look at what we have suffered because of the Pratt and Whitney is in the range of not only there are three elements to that. One is that our promoters had to pump in more than 3,200 crores in last 24 months because the only fact that Pratt and Whitney did not provide the engine. While on the other hand, we continued to be operating at our most operating efficiency level compared to the best in the industry in India. And we had a EBITDA even in prior to 2019-20, even in 2021-22, our EBITDA was better than the best in the industry. And as late as in Q3 of 2022-23, our operating cost is as good as the best in the industry. So I think it's a matter of only getting the scale which was denied to us by Pratt and Whitney.
Okay, so Kaushik, let me address this issue because that's an important clarification from you that the claims that you're filing against Pratt and Whitney amount to almost $950 million, and the compensation paid by Pratt and Whitney to you so far amounts to $49 million. You talked about the promoters infusing capital, and you say that it's been unprecedented capital infusion by the promoters. Promoters have infused a total of 6,500 crores, of which 3,200 crore rupees has come in as of March 2020, and 290 crores has come in as recently as the 26th of April 2023. So 293 crores coming in from the promoters as of April this year. If you believe that the airline, as you pointed out in your own words, has industry-leading EBITDA, if you, in your words, say that the promoters continue to be committed to the airline, then have the promoters not wanted to infuse more capital to ride out the current turbulence? Do they not want to put more money after what has gone through so far? Have the promoters decided no more capital infusion?
Shereen, it is like this. Promoters are still committed. It is a matter of if we don't get engines. I mean, howsoever promoters may fund, and as I said, in 24 months, they have infused 3,200 crore. Not only that, I think I would be failing in my duty if I don't consider the kind of support which the government has also given. They have given the ECLGS scheme, which is Emergency Credit Line Guaranteed Scheme, and they have given a sanction of 1,500 crore, out of which we have drawn 1,300 crore. So we have actually infused 4,600 crore in last 24 months. Going by the run rate, we have lost 200 crores only on losses because of the Pratt and Whitney engine. But the losses are even more because that's the loss on the basis of the break even. But we are supposed to have operations profitability. So if I talk about the loss of revenue, loss of profit, they are substantially high, more than 10,000 crores. Now, if you really ask, well, why a promoter not infusing every month 300 crores? Well, they can infuse, but that 300 crore will go down the drain every time because the Pratt and Whitney engines are still not available. So it is a matter of, I think, believing that because Pratt and Whitney gave a confirmation to the award, when the award was released on 30th of March 2023, on 1st of April, Pratt and Whitney gave a writing to the arbitrator that they are going to abide by the award, and that is what prompted the promoters that yes, now things are going to come up, while the Pratt and Whitney did not comply with any of the obligations till that date. But considering that this is a major arbitration award awarded by Singapore International Arbitration Center, it's a global issue, and Pratt and Whitney being part of the Raytheon Group, a very large US aviation, and I would say a lot of extensive exposure into the aviation and defense. They are at today we are a $150 billion company. So we thought that they will now abide by what they have also said, and therefore the promoters are willing. They were willing. They actually committed, and they brought in 290 crores. So I think if Pratt and Whitney would have given engines by 20th of April, we would have been hunky dory. The question is, do I request promoters every day that, sir, I'm short of funds, please give me 100 rupees more? I mean, this is not the way to run an airline. Ultimately, Pratt and Whitney has to...
No, I get that. No, I get that. But have you had that? But what is the last conversation that you've had with promoters on this issue? As you said, promoters infused 293 crore rupees. That is the latest in terms of infusion from the promoters as of April 2023. So have promoters now said, look, no more at this point in time?
No. I think it's and I already in the past also, there were 2-3 weeks back, there was some kind of mischief news, and we had clarified promoters are completely committed. They are committed because see, it's not just the recent infusion of 290 crores. Promoters, as you already know, have infused 6,500 crores. They are 100% owned company, and I think you should look at the kind of the way Wadia Group performs. Wadia Group has a legacy of being a long-term kind of business partner in any business which they do. You look at the various companies which we have; they are all long-lasting companies. Group itself is 287 years old.
So Kaushik, I just wanted to...
Yeah.
Right.
So I think just to give you a short answer,
I just want to understand whether there are any guarantees by the promoter group on in case of the loans that you've taken from Indian banks. Are there any promoter guarantees attached to those loans?
So promoters have themselves given a collateral security of a very prime land in Bombay, which is worth more than 3,000 crores. So actually, if I really evaluate from a banker's perspective, I believe the lenders should not have any cause of concern, because apart from the company's assets itself, there is an additional collateral security in the form of open land, which the bankers have the security since last few years. And the last evaluated market value of this land, which is I think before 2 years, was around 2,900 to 3,000 crores. And today, if we go by the increase in the, I would say the TDRs and the development potential, obviously this is substantially increased more. So I think promoters, I think, have given all the confidence to the lenders, and their lenders should be adequately covered with their exposure.
On the issue of lenders, Kaushik, because we are given to understand that your lenders were equally taken by surprise. Did you not believe that there was any merit in engaging with your lenders on this decision that you decided to trigger overnight?
Well, I don't think lenders were taken by surprise. We have been continuously interacting with the lenders. Not only there is a regular 2-monthly, 3-monthly meetings where we give the updates about all this, but there was a specific personal exposure, I would say, interaction with the top management of the banks, where we continuously briefed them about what's happening on the Pratt and Whitney. In fact, when we filed for the arbitration, we also briefed them. When we got the award, we have briefed them. And then when this happened, we also briefed all the 3 banks in detail as to what is the process, and that's the reason why we are filing Section 10 application. So I think promoters have been continuously transparent. We as a management have been continuously giving the update to the banks at all times, and I don't think bank would have any kind of complaint that we have not informed them. While obviously Section 10 application, we also till the date we filed, I personally was not even dreaming that I would file Section 10 application, but I think we were forced to do that to protect the assets of the company.
Okay, you're saying that lenders were aware of the pain that the company is faced with, but the DGCA has issued a notice last night to the company saying you cannot suspend flights. Please show cause as to why you have suspended flights without any notice. Have you responded to the DGCA? And back to my very first question, what happens in the interim as the NCLT takes up this matter? What happens to operations? What happens to the employees? What happens to your customers? Can you clarify for us what are the liabilities on advanced sales as of today?
Sure. So I think a very important and a very relevant question, Shereen. I appreciate that. DGCA has issued notice yesterday. It is obviously, we will comply to that by replying that. It is in respect of the cancellation of the flights which we had done yesterday, and the passengers were adequately informed in advance about the cancellation. The cancellation had to take place because we expected that there will be some disruption. We wanted to avoid that disruption, and fortunately, no disruption was finally taken place. All the passengers were taken care. There was no disruption. So we will adequately reply to the show cause notice of the DGCA. Secondly, coming down to what will happen to the operations. Well, as you know, I mean, you are very well aware, once you file a Section 10 application, till the time it is admitted, we as a management have to take operational decisions on a normal basis. Presently, as a situation, as we all have clearly clarified, the financial situation doesn't permit us to continue the operation, and therefore we have been kind of stalling and cancelling the bookings for next 3 days, or I would say for next to 10 days. Also, there is a stoppage of the booking because we are evaluating as to when will the NCLT admit, so that we can within the
No. I just want to clarify that. Sorry, Kaushik, I'm interrupting you because as of yesterday, we were given to understand that flights were suspended for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of May. You're saying that that's unlikely to be the case. You're likely to now go in for a longer suspension because you have no clarity on when the NCLT will admit the matter.
No, let me clarify. You are right. The flights have been cancelled for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. For the flights which have been booked for 6th to 15th, we have stopped further booking because we believe if something happens, we can immediately resume the operation. If something comes up, we can take a call immediately. Otherwise, we don't want to add to the passengers' grievance, and therefore we have suspended the bookings for the next 10 days thereafter. Now, obviously, we cannot control NCLT. We can request, and once the NCLT admits the matter, I think then we will be able to take a call on a regular basis. This itself, I would say, demonstrate the fact that we are ready to restart the operations as soon as there is a moratorium available and as soon as the matter is getting admitted. So that is the reason why I thought that we are taking short-term calls while we want to also engage with all the travel partners, with all the employees. We already done our engagement and we are continuously giving them the update as to what is going to happen on a I would say, day-to-day basis.
Kaushik, again, I just want to clarify, what is the current operational fleet size? How much are you losing in a day as of today? More clarifications that I want from you. What is the outstanding to oil marketing companies like Indian Oil Corporation?
So as of now, the operating fleet till yesterday was 27 aircraft, and therefore it is less than 50% of the total fleet, which we have ability to operate. While I would not be able to discuss the individual issues of outstanding with the companies, because I believe that's little, I would say, private matters. But we can always clarify that we are in the dialogues with all our stakeholders, including the service suppliers as well as oil suppliers, and we are trying to give them the update so that they are also fully aware how the things will span out.
Okay, and how much are you losing as of today on a daily basis?
Well, today, obviously today there is no operation because we already cancelled the flights, but on a regular basis,
right.
I mean, till I would say till yesterday or day before yesterday, we were able to only generate enough revenue to cover the variable cost, the fixed cost, and the I would say the fixed rentals were the deficit because of the aircraft which we have very limited. So if I have a higher number of full fleet, well, obviously we need to cater to the 100% of the cost with the 50% of revenue. That's the gap. That's the gap which we will not have if I have more aircraft.
Okay, I again want to, in the context of the resolution plan, understand from you, and I want clarifications because, again, your lessors moving against you is also not new. These were part of the risk factors from the DRHP of 2021, so it's an ongoing thing. Now, of the 27 operational aircraft, have lessors moved against these 27 as well? How many are where there is potential action of either grounding them or repossession?
Well, as of now, I have not received any intimation from DGCA about any action taken by lessors. We believe and we will engage with the lessors that this is a short-term issue, and they have been very understanding, cooperative since last 3 years. They know that this whole situation is not created by us. It's a creation of Pratt and Whitney, and lessors are also aware that about the bona fides and the transparency with which we work. So I think lessors, I believe they will be able to understand the situation, and we will continuously interact with all the lessors to see that this process also, I mean, this also shall pass kind of scenario.
Well, this hopefully shall pass, but that has not been the story of Indian aviation. Unfortunately, it's been quite the opposite, where we have seen casualty after casualty in the Indian aviation space. So back to the original question of the resolution plan. What is the hope? What do you intend to bring to the table?
Well, the hope is to get the engines, because that is the key to any success. If I don't get engines, even after putting more 5,000 crores in next 1 year, then also the entire infusion of the funds will go down the drain. So unless and until Pratt and Whitney agrees to provide the engines, which it is under their obligation, it will be very difficult to give any kind of answer on what are the options. Options are, yes, I need engines. Second, once I get the engines, I think my cost structure, the network and the way we behave, way we operate, I think it's really competitive. I'm sure you are aware that our operating costs are as best in the industry. Even now in the Q3 results of 2022, we have compared ourselves with the best in the industry and we are comparable. Even in financial year 2021-22, where everybody was still not operating at the 100% capacity, we were having EBITDA of 3.4% better than the best in the industry. So I think the DNA of our airline remains that we are the least cost airline, and therefore we can spring back to normal immediately once we get the capacity.
And I again want a clarification from you going back to the promoter group, because as part of the DRHP or filings, there was a clarification then that no other promoter group company had any exposure to Go First, whether it is Britannia, etc. Can you confirm that to us?
No, I think that's correct, because see, all the companies are managed under the corporate governance model. And we continue, the Go First continues to be held 100% by the promoter. And I believe there is no interlacing of any kind of exposure between each other companies. Britannia has no exposure in, yes, I still buy biscuits to sell on board, but that is the limited on the arm's length prices, but that's very limited. I mean, it's not something which is worth a mention. So I think we continue to be independent, because the rest of the 4 companies are all listed companies and they have their own independent, I would say, operations.
Okay, all right. We will have to check back with you when you do see this matter being taken up by the NCLT. No date so far on when it's likely to be mentioned? No update on that front so far, Kaushik?
Not yet, Shereen. I would be happy to inform you once I get the information first.
Okay. Will the promoters, my final question to you, will the promoters be submitting a resolution plan to the NCLT as well?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Will the promoters?
Will the promoters also submit a resolution plan to the NCLT?
Yeah, I mean, that I think it depends on how it pans out. But Section 10 gives that option also. So I think it will be a way forward. We can't right now, there is no indication of that matter. Right now, we are just evaluating how we can make ourselves sustainable and affordable till the time we try to kind of preserve our assets. And let's see if Pratt and Whitney, who is saying that they are going to comply to the award, let's see how it actually complies.
And Kaushik, finally, from the customer's point of view, what about reimbursements for the flights that were cancelled and for the fact that you will not be flying, at least in the interim period of the next few weeks? What about reimbursements? How soon can we expect that process to start?
See, we have, when we cancel, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, so when we cancel, I mean, the process is the same. We are not making any change in the process. The cancellation of the last 2 days, which has happened, we already kind of provided the refund back to the mode of payment. And as regards the further release of the refunds, it will be subject to it is already in the queue for all credit. So it will be happening in due course of time. And all the passengers are also being informed from a regular basis. And if at all there is any disruption, we'll ensure that the passengers are informed upfront so that we can avoid the disruption to the passengers. But we request you to allow us to represent that we are really concerned with the inconvenience which the passengers may face because of this sudden unexpected issue which has come to face us.
Kaushik Khona, well, we will leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC-TV18 to give us a status check on where things currently stand. We will, of course, take this forward as the NCLT decides to take up this matter. Appreciate your time. That is Kaushik Khona, the CEO of Go First Airlines, filing under Section 10 under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, saying that it is impossible for them to be able to continue running operations as is. That's a wrap on this special show. Thanks very much for watching. Don't go anywhere. We're back with the markets in just a second.